I'm Morgan J., also known as Kitty Clash. There's an old adage that goes, those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it. And so that's why I want to talk about how fascism is depicted in Sid Meier's Civilization III. So in order to unlock fascism as a government type, you first have to unlock the fascism technology, which is available pretty early on in the industrial ages. Be aware that I don't believe this government type was available in the original version of Civ III, but it is available in the complete edition. The Civilopedia entry for the fascism government type reads, "You rule as the dictator of a fascist state, appealing to strong feelings of national identity and the promise of a glorious future or return to an idealized past." And I think that is something that people really need to keep in mind, especially given just the way things are in the modern United States. Make America great again is calling for a return to an idealized past. And so, yeah, I think that can be perceived as a little bit fascistic. Your nation views itself as entitled to anything it can take from weaker or less worthy civilizations. And first of all, I want to say that AI in Civ 3 always does that from like the beginning of the game anyways. It's not specific to this government type. But I would also like to say that I do feel like America throughout my entire life has kind of been like that anyways. So war weariness is not an issue, and nationalist fervor for public works means that your workers do their jobs faster. I like to point out that I think America has been at war for like most of my life. Are we still at war with anyone or not? Like, I'm not even sure. And I don't really know if our workers do their jobs faster, though. Like, we probably don't meet that component. However, your brutal methods and suspicious attitude towards business and enterprise mean you must use forced labor to build improvements. And I want to point out that technically forced labor still exists in the United States, because under the 13th Amendment, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States, or any place subject to their jurisdiction. But the thing is, we still allow essentially forced labor as punishment for crimes, and chain gangs were a thing. So I do think we still have forced labor in the United States. Your cities lose population points upon a change to fascist government, and that's the thing that really got me, like, why I really got to thinking about fascism is the whole call for mass deportations. It really reminded me of how you lose population when you change to a fascist government in Civ 3. And so that's why I was like, hey, I should really read what this Civilopedia entry says, because it feels like the United States is acting a little bit fascistic right now. Newly conquered cities also lose population and do not generate culture until a popular majority has been assimilated. And I'd also like to point out that fascism has like really high military police limit, as well as really good unit support. And I'm just like, throughout my entire life, the US has been very big on the military. Okay, and here is the description part of the Civilopedia entry for fascism. Unlike other forms of government, there is no concrete definition of fascism. The word fascism comes from the fasces. I think that's in one of the Planet of the Apes movies as well. The bundle of sticks used as a symbol of authority in ancient Rome. Appropriately, since the first fascist government, that of Benito Mussolini in Italy, aspired to regain Rome's glory. Some common elements of fascism include strong nationalist sentiment, xenophobia, and that's something that I really am seeing an increase of. Like, I hate using this word, but I've heard, like, relatives use the word illegals to refer to people, and it makes me feel sad, because I never would have thought of these people as being racist, but I'm seeing like an increase in xenophobia really in recent times. Subordination of individual interests to those of the community or society. Yeah, I'm seeing that happen with like women's rights, and also to an extent with trans rights. Militarism and glorification of the army, secret police forces that enforce secret laws, informer networks, suppression of civil liberties and independent media. Like, I'm not sure if we really have all of these yet, but I am a little bit concerned about suppression of civil liberties. Okay, very concerned about that. And I am a little bit concerned because I know that, like, how do I put this? Sometimes media has bias and stuff, but I am concerned about how Trump specifically is not always necessarily pro the media, and economic policies that tightly tie business and commerce to government. And yeah, I would say things like tariffs definitely are not free market. Note that many of these features are common in communist states as well. Oh gosh. I am not pro-communism. I want to state up front, I am not pro-communism. Fascist states need not be authoritarian, although they usually are. When fascist leaders are democratically elected, as Adolf Hitler was, they often try to modify or abolish the democratic institutions that place the leaders in power. So yeah, I think we just really need to be aware of what fascism actually is, because I am noticing that in a lot of ways the United States is starting to resemble this more and more. I know that technically we're a democratic republic, but it does feel like in some ways we have adopted elements of fascism. I also wanted to talk about mercantilism a little bit. Mercantilism in Civ III is only, and I think it's the Age of Discovery conquest, and it's unlocked in the Renaissance era of that. So if chances are you may never have encountered this in Civ 3, just because if you're even playing that conquest to begin with, you might have ended it or like won the game or lost the game before you even got to that point in the tech tree. The description of that technology reads, mercantilism came into being shortly after the medieval states of Europe became true nation states. It is an economic worldview holding that all economic exchange is zero-sum, meaning that in any trade, there is a winner and a loser. According to mercantilism, national governments needed to tightly control foreign trade and employment, and aggressively pursue colonies and foreign markets to profitably sell manufactured goods. Finally, mercantilism was associated with the idea that wealth was identical with stocks of gold and silver, or whatever was used as currency in a given economy. Mercantilism endured until the 18th century, when Adam Smith and the classical liberals of England and France set forth a series of devastating criticisms. And I'm just thinking that I think Trump's economic policies more align with the views of mercantilism rather than a true free market capitalist sort of economic system. Because under mercantilism, national governments needed to tightly control foreign trade and employment, and I see wanting to impose tariffs as being quite similar to the mercantilist ideas. This idea that you need to tightly control trade. And he also seems to be not necessarily pro-immigration, and so that's also tightly controlling foreign trade and employment. So yeah, I wanted to talk about this because, again, I feel like people who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it, and I think people really need to be aware of the fact that, hey, America is starting to resemble fascism. Our economic policy is starting to resemble mercantilism rather than an actual free market. And I am frankly worried about the future. Thank you so much for checking out this video. I have used screenshots of the game rather than the gameplay itself, so that way there won't be any background music issues. And I hope you have a great day. Bye!